This time, the leaves were able to quickly pierce through the outer armor into the juniper body. After entering, the leaves continue to rotate. Every leaf is a mini tornado. Just like that, endlessly wreaking havoc inside the juniper body. The pain is constantly screaming. There's fresh blood in my mouth that keeps spitting out. Tran Hung looked at the giant in front of him. Writhing pain. The two priests also came. Tran Hung turned his head. I saw the enemy's mask. It's the Poppy Sao, then slowly walk back to them. When the king saw Tran Hung coming, he was astonished. Are you? You're not a fighter of the East Sao. What are you doing in Liao City? The dog also quickly asked. It is a disaster that comes with you. Tran Hung nodded. That's right, me and my friends. It was discovered that there was an evil altar in the city. In the course of the investigation, I encountered this chimpanzee. When they heard him, they fell into silence. After a while, he asked again. I remember seeing you 2 years ago. At that time, you were only a minor. Such a short time. How can you reach the level? You can fight with the centipede. This level of disaster. Tran Hung laughed. You're wrong. We can fight with it, not us. I'm just an assistant. The hand is my friend. He just finished. The police officer immediately appeared next to me. Who are their heads? 2 people come in. The queen saw it, then immediately make a defensive position. Tran Hung saw their expressions, then quickly explained the hand. Don't stress. This is the friend I mentioned earlier. We can make sure it's on our side. IP also quickly spoke up. No, don't look at me like that. Actually, a long time ago, I used to be human too. The Pope's sharp eyes looked at it. What was it like to be a human? Devil, eunuch. There are also a lot of people made in Hanam. Poppy's not too twisted about this. Quickly ask about something else. That's right, brass monk in the city. Have you seen any comments? Tran Hung quickly replied seriously. I saw it, and it was incredibly crowded. The danger hidden then. It's obviously something we can't get our hands on. How long will the court's support take? The monkey shook its head and said, I don't know, but I've sent a letter. Tran Hung heard that, startled by the letter, Sao. Wait, you don't know. Liao City is half closed now, Sao. The letter will not be able to be sent. The two-way people were startled when they heard it. All faces are aggravated. On the other side, 2 people, Yao Kim too, they're quickly evacuating people out of the city. Hurry up. Come out from the east gate. But the juniper goes to the gate of the city. They were stopped by soldiers. Come back this way. They just said their bodies, slowly turning yellow. Of brass multiplier. On the other side of the city. Dress the tiger now. I'm talking to the radio. Who is sure to create a channel? Need to have these mortals Sao. The frequency of yang nodding. Sure, when the will of all beings is infinitely strong. Converge that flow of resources. Will help us knock on the door of communication. It's the same with the Western world. It's only through the Bodhisattva statue that we made. And the knock on the door to locate the world. From there, so that this world can merge with the ecstasy of the West. Connected to the celestial battlefield. When you are done listening, you already know. Then do what you say. Move the scene back to the gate. The soldiers are still standing there. Stop the people. The mouth is constantly screaming before the sacrifice begins. They're not allowed to leave either. The public. I saw their bodies turn yellow. Then the fear screams. You are the tiger demon. Behind the crowd, I heard what the soldiers said. Whispered thinking, sacrifice ritual, SAO. Does anyone want to celebrate? Orthodox in the city. The monastics of sport. It's also part of the SAO ritual. Or there's some kind of guarantee that the sacrifice may proceed smoothly. Think for a moment. He turned his head and told Kim. Use the signal. We have to tell Wei to urge. The Lord and the Pope know the situation. Yao Kim too nodded, then take out a firecracker and light it up. Flares quickly soared into the sky. Tran Hung people are inside the Million government. You can also see it immediately, the Pope quickly said. That's the signal name of Yao Kim too and Lamb Tiger. Poppies also speak up. It must be a tiger. They've figured out something. Tran Hung watched them go together. The monkey nodded. Next, the people rushed towards the city gate. As soon as they left, the sun appeared. He looked at the dead body and said, "How long do you want to wait in there?" He just finished. Inside the cold body, a hand reached out. Then a naked man came out. He just came out and asked me, "What about clothes? Give me a set." This is the essence of the parable. Disaster scene. Goddess Grace is hard to kill. I can hear him speak. Frequency to Yang. I quickly threw him a costume. The dorm took the clothes. Quickly put on cover body 6-pack. Waiting for him to finish his clothes. The new radio is speaking again. How do you fight? 2,000 years of piety. That he died at the hands of unclean noses. Even if you stand still and let them fight, then they can't beat you that fast. The tail replied reluctantly. Special situation. Who killed my SAO? Practice the great vow sword. He would rather have to carry on his back immeasurable karma. They must also be willing to cut us. We have no other way. The frequency asked again. How do you explain that to a martial artist? When he stormed into 1,000,000 women in Tai'an district. You didn't kill him. Why is he here again now? It is also extremely difficult to understand. You can't blame me at the time. Surely he's dead. I confirmed it a few times. I suspect he has help behind his back. Otherwise, it can't be explained. He was at SAO that year. He could have escaped our pursuit. He was the only lucky person to survive during the rebellion of the resilient Li. And he was clearly killed by me. You can still live now. Touch it and come back to this place. After listening to him, his eyes closed. This disruptor hides so deep, eh? Right, how long do you need? You can restore this SAO. The apricot quickly landed half an hour. The frequency of Yang nodding. I will wait for you half an hour at the gate. People are now afraid of breaking their secrets. Back in the city. Who goes home to get it? There are only 2 tigers left. And Yao Kim too. Look at the brass monks in front of you. The tiger looked at them and said, "It's hard to fight if the guards at the gates turned into a brass monk. It's not occultation, so it's clear that their ancestors were humans. If it is a person, it means." He was talking about here. Kim Yu quickly followed up. It means in the city. They're all brass monks instead. The worst thing is that some of us are too. Before she finished, she was interrupted by the tiger. Before Master Wei Sop and the Emperor return, let's test their power first. Yao Kim too immediately nodded and clasped his hands. Developer of 72 hidden arts. The tiger next to her immediately switched to the hidden state. 2 brass monks. When I saw a guy suddenly disappear, my face looked dazed. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. The tiger saw their behavior, whispered, "There's a feeling that these monastics, there is a certain wisdom. How about this?" Then he slowly moved towards them. Every time he moves, leaving footprints on the land. The two brass monks also recognized that point. Stand in place and stare. Wait until your feet are in front of you. They immediately threw up their sticks and crashed out. Fresh blood immediately shot out. When they saw it, they laughed very happily. They didn't wait for them long. Suddenly, a hand appeared and grabbed their heads. Then their heads were crushed to death. The tiger's body is now slowly in a state of hidden appearance. His head is now tilting back, and he looks very strange. After handling the two clear brass tanks, he reached out his hand and twisted his neck. Then his head returned to its original position. This is the first 17. After returning to normal, he looked at the two bodies on the ground. It doesn't really work. But it's pretty smart. Know how to use tactics to set traps against the enemy. If their number increases, it would be very dangerous. He just finished. It's around them. There have been countless brass multipliers. They're staring at them. One of them opened his mouth and said, "Discovering the enemy of the Buddha. Buddha's enemies need to be suppressed." Kim Yu looked at them. Ask them when they came. The tiger shook his head, not knowing. But one thing's for sure. These extraordinary things disregard the death of his companions. Their view of life and death is different. It's a heaven compared to us. On the other side, Tran Hung people are constantly flying on the roof. Use extreme speed to run to the blue tigers. Suddenly, a shadow appeared above them. The Pope was the first to discover it. Immediately scream, "Be careful who hears him." They quickly discovered it. The enemy before the enemy hits. They were able to react too. Jump to the sides and dodge. After avoiding a click, then the people stopped, staring at the opposite person. The dust is gone. Body image restored. Appeared in front of them. The Pope looked at the enemy, a little puzzled. I've never seen this fighter before. He is a monk in the temple, 8 directions, SAO. The poppy shook its head, not so much. The soldiers also looked at them. In the middle of the day, confidence of the bar, to go with the pagan demons. Frequency is wrong. The human kingdom of this world is rotten. I don't know how to say it after listening. The devil shouted angrily. Who do you say is evil? Think about the words of the enemy. A moment later, new voice. According to your words, you don't seem to be a person of this world. The lake replied to me. Of course not. The ocean always says, the world is still worth saving. But as far as I can see, it's completely unnecessary. The dog heard him answer. Then startled in my heart. Anode frequency reflection. This name, I think I've heard it somewhere before. But there's no way to remember. Chen Hong also coldly looked at the opponent, asking. You mentioned earlier. The frequency said, the world is still valuable. Who is AI to save the radio frequency? And this world is finally going to be restored. The man quickly replied, in principle, I shouldn't have told you these things. But if I let you die with suspicion, it would be contrary to my nature. Let me tell you the truth. If you die, your eyes will be closed. About 200 years ago, God was born outside the world. Pay attention to this world. The radio waves observed and realized that they're coming. Know their power better than any other AI. So under desperate circumstances, he contacted us on his own initiative. Then, he's got even more exciting news. Then Ra's invasion of the alien world. It's already started. The gods are not finished. It's basically impossible to put enough people down to help his world. Tran Hung people heard this shocking news. The face also changes. I didn't pay attention, so keep talking. Fuck like that. And that's what caused this inanimate frequency to give birth to an audacious intention. It's against history. Quickly destroy the dynasty Tun. To create a separate world. Then in this mess. To select and eliminate all the unqualified. Win the world. Until this land. Born a new king. There's enough power. Use this dynasty against the foreign gods. Priest, I can't help but scream in anger. You're chanting too much to be stunned. Is it true that the world attacked this? It was founded by the Jews and the heroes who risked their lives. It comes in your mouth. It turned into a gift. Even more so than what you say. I've never heard of it. The hut is not angry either. Believe it or not, it's up to you. We only say what we know. Only with you. Tran Hung is speaking again now. There's a point we still don't understand. The waiter turned to look at him. Tell me, Tran Hung quickly asked. If the Great Tuns were a powerful dynasty, recognized by the radio frequency, why do you stand on the opposite side of the world? Laklaw Hat casually replied, because of your founding monarch. And his successors are going the wrong way. If it continues like this, there is no need for extraterrestrial beings. This world, he will be killed by him and his successors. Destruction. When he heard it, he couldn't help shouting. Ko moaned dyslexic. You think we will believe your evil words? Lake Lahan dressed laughing. Is it a dyslexic subject or not? You just need to compare a little. He hasn't finished yet. Then suddenly, there's a shout interrupting. That's enough. The startled people turned to look. Not far behind them on a roof. Chen Yang was standing there, looking at them. He looked at the lake, he said. Your outfit reveals too much. Stop here. He looked back coolly at him. What's that got to do with it? No matter what, they can't live through today. Tran Hung looked at the red shirt in front of the aesthetic. This person is. That's the radio frequency that Kier mentioned earlier. Slowly take your hat and put it down coldly. It's a matter of principle that we don't want to repeat a second time. Finished on him. A powerful airflow. The earthquake of the earth flared up. People feel this way. Face is extremely unsightly. IP is afraid to say. Hey, don't threaten me. It's much stronger than the cold. The Aries doesn't pay attention to them. Two hands quickly press large decisive concepts. The cannon is lost, according to his screams. There's something under the ground that wants to come up. Very quickly, the giant yellow pillars appeared around the city. I'm sorry, my partner has revealed things that should not have been revealed. To prevent the health of the celestial body. Use of the royal guard. To investigate the ruins of Liao City. Avoid letting them know. The highest of our fathers. We can only use cannons. To completely erase the traces. About your existence. On the other side, I saw the stones. Is also afraid to say. This inanimate firebender SAO pulled the cannon. Lost the radio. As originally planned. He's not going to be on the radio right now. To eliminate the remaining destabilizing factors in the city. SAO Wei Poppy looked at the frequency of Yang cold voice, shouted. Completely erase traces of our existence, SAO. The air is so big, I don't care if I continue to practice. Is it a big gun or not? I'll know in a minute. The fortress begins to go. According to his voice. Then the pillars of stone had a flash of gold. Then there's the chains above. It doesn't stop moving. The last one is straight towards the Tran Hung people. To see this situation, Tran Hung's face immediately dropped. Shout out, scatter out. People also know what to do. Don't need him to remind you before the chains hit. They have also been avoiding each other. Lake La Han out now, it's also moving back next to the radio frequency. He was extremely puzzled and asked, "It's just for kids. We haven't reached disasters yet. Is it necessary to? Do you have to use magic cells like a fortress?" The frequency of the ocean calmly replied, "Lions fighting rabbits must also use all their strength. The army's support is coming soon. Before they come, all the variables on this Henan highway have to be cleaned up." When he heard the sound, he nodded. Got it. But his eyes were cold as he thought. Listen to your meaningless words. If I hadn't said that deliberately. You must be hiding in the dark right now, watching the fisherman benefit. Watch us and they fight. On the other side, the king is being chased by the shackles. No matter how you run, you can't escape. He firmly bit his teeth and stood still. And then you pull down something that's on your neck. Then quickly recite the mantra. Restriction of Kwang resent discharge. Follow the sound of his mantra. The object turned into a golden shield. In front of him, 2 iron chains hit to the front. It was stopped by a golden light. There's no way we can go any further. The Pope saw that the chains were blocked. I turned my head to look at the 2 men. It's over here, and then it's over there. When he finished, his hands closed, to begin to perform magic. Very quickly around him appeared countless black cases. After a while, his body was completely covered up by the darkness. When he recovered, he was amazed. 72 SAOK statements. The wind is blowing right. These years, Dai Tan always silently collected 10 kinds of feather. Excellent French learning. The place that's in charge of these things is called a leader. They then give back the magic. Received 10 gets for the sperm in the continents. Based on authority, Baidu can be chosen one of 36 France. And 2 subjects of 72 arts. The police can only choose to 72 arts. To put it simply, it's 36 miracles. And 72 locales, guys. This boy's name is Baidu. He's got at least one of the 36 French. A subject of 72 approvals. When he heard the sound, he nodded. Rao is like that. While the 2 of them were talking, there is a dark shadow in the case. Went behind them. The Pope protrudes his head from within. Look at the enemy laughing coldly, and then he wants to finish off the enemy. But he didn't make it. Then the devil turned his head and looked at him. Your methods are too poor. Still need to practice more. The Pope sees the enemy. That can disrupt our solution. I'm afraid of 2 big eyes. He didn't have time to react. He was captured by the sun with his hands. Qin Yang looked at him contemptuously and said, "The magic I hold in my hand. There seems to be something. But the leader has not yet collected 10. For example, here's the next one. When he finished, he performed 72 magic tricks. 2 iron equinoxes. It's being blocked by the golden shield. Suddenly through it. Reverse reflection into 4 PCS. Then quickly tie up the body of the dead. After the iron chain is tied up, then let go of your hands. Then the picture starts with you. He just finished. Then he was pulled back in chains. Fastened on the brass cylinder. Over the top of the cylinder, there's also something moving very quickly. Next, it's the father's desperate cry of pain. Immediately echoed. Tran Hung and his camel are fighting with horns.